could I talk to the leader? I want to go talk to the leaders about that.
You make your way upstairs, and one of the it's not too far upstairs because the elders are elders. Um, you make your way into a council meeting that has a handful of them. It's not like a full council room, but there's probably 5 or 6 that are talking and chatting, having an afternoon meal.
Okay, I'll make my presence known. I'll get their attention and see if they would be willing to talk about our current situation.
Yes, of course. Yeah, cool, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to come and discuss where we're at in terms of being able to keep our tribe alive and fed here. Things have been slowly declining, as I've come to notice, and I feel that we need to change this and go along a different path, one that's more sustainable for us as a tribe.
Mm-hmm. What would that look like to you?
I feel like we would need. I almost want to say, like, you said the raids had stopped, right?
Yeah.
At this point, I feel like we would need to continue raiding from this location outwards to try and, one, keep control of the crystal, because there's still those of, who believe in the faith, and I feel like it needs to just continue to be sustainable here. So raiding out and trying to gather resources that way makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to lead some of these raids or some of these scouting missions?
I would, yeah.
We were talking about this the other day as a group about the possibility of starting the raids again. But some of the people down at Falgoon didn't want us to start raiding for fear that we would bring back that people would find us.
People haven't found us thus far. We dragged a whole crystal up into the mountains. I feel like if that didn't do it, why would us going out change that?
You're not wrong. That is the argument that some of us made. I will tell you tomorrow morning, or I'll tell you this evening if we're going to restart raids. In the meantime, you get a small group together.
I can do that.
And they go back to talking and then send some runners out to go fetch other council members.
Okay. At that point, can I go start see if anybody else would want to join the raids?
Mm-hmm.
Gonna hit up my homie and see if he wants to join.
I imagine I'm probably chilling near the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. I'll make my way over there.
Yeah, as you're walking through the hallways and stuff, there's a couple people felt the same as you, that the raid should start again. And you're like, hey, you interested? You interested? And you've got probably 5 or 6 people for scouting the region. By the time you make it down to the room, the worship room, and as you said, Varrock is there in the room. He seems deep in prayer up near the front in one of the stone-carved seats when you enter.
Okay. I'll make my way up to him. Be like, hey, Varalk, what do you think about joining in a raid? I think we should start them up again as they've stopped.
We need everyone we can to protect Krugek. The Falgun requires continuous sacrifice. We need to keep giving. We still have what we can give. We need to keep giving.
We can continue to accrue resources both for ourselves and for our god if we continue the raids. I don't see why it all has to be done here and only here if we're running ourselves out of resources as well.
Krugek is here. We cannot be divided. Why do you want to divide us?
I'm not looking to divide us. I'm looking to make sure that we can thrive. We can continue on. We're losing out on our sustenance. We're going to run out soon. This isn't sustainable.
We can eat. We have plenty of the brown stuff. We'll eat fine. The Falgun requires our utmost attention. We can't leave it defenseless. I will not leave. It's hard for me to say it, but I cannot join you in this. We must serve Krugek. We must continue to protect Krugek. You cannot.
I'm not saying that all of us need to leave at once. That would be foolish. In that way, I agree with you, but I feel like we need to continue raiding. So you can stay here if you need to protect them, but I'm going to lead a party out and search for more resources for us.
What do the elders say of this?
They were having conversations about that as well, and let me know that they were going to let me know at the end of the day, and wanted me to see if I could get people along to see if we can go out.
So they didn't agree with you.
Not immediately.
I, as the elders, are hesitant to agree with you. I believe you're misguided. I think we need to focus our attention on helping Krugek and what we can. I think the elders seem to see things my way as well.
That's fair. I see. Well, in that case, I bid you farewell for now, and I'm going to go see if I can gather any more people to join me in the raid. And I turn around and walk away.
Daniel, we can't hear you.
That's because I was muted.
Oh, you're back.
As you turn, and thank you, by the way, as you turn and start walking away back down that hallway, you hear the chants start back up. The chants to Falgun. And the chants to Krugek. You probably feel disappointed, but life does this sometimes. And you get your group of scouts together, and you pack small resources and head out. It's a relatively successful trip. You find that there are a handful of small villages nearby, very few guards or fighter types amongst them, especially if you roll in less killy with the raids. You might be able to reap from these raids, from these raid locations more than once, if you give them time to rebuild. Which is important, being that you guys aren't nomadic anymore. And there's probably a piece of you deep down that longs for that violence again. It's been a while. And that's the nature of what you are as a tribe, is that need and that violence and that anger. As you start heading back to bring that information back to the elders so that they can, the more military minded and the more village minded can make those choices, you hear screams in the distance from Rockface. They're loud, fearful, and many of them are cut short early. So the large group of scouts, is running like top speed to get back. And as you do make it back, you see that where you did, it's rare, but you did occasionally have torches lit, right, for various things. You all can see in the dark, but there's still good reason to have light here and there. There's no light coming from the rock face, and it is deep it's deep at night. So it is dark, and then in the dark you can see small rectangles of further dark, which are the windows that have been carved in. The By the time you guys make it to Rockface, you don't hear anything. It's silent.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make my way in silently. I'm gonna try and get in and analyze what's happening or what has happened.
So make me a perception check and a stealth check.
All right. Perception. Perception is 18.
Okay.
And then what was the other one?
A stealth check.
Stealth. That would be an 8.
Okay, so you're fairly certain that that you're being quiet, but you also know that you take up a large part of these tunnels, and some of the areas where, when you're thinking about it, you can move through smoothly. You're bumping yourself into areas a little bit more now. There's also something on the floor in some areas where that makes the floor a little bit more slick and sticky than what you're used to with your bare feet.
It better be the brown.
Your bugbear feet. Um. But you hear echoes through the rock face, and you hear a very low chant coming from what you can only assume is the gem room.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna head that way.
All right, the scouts are behind you. All of you have weapons drawn, and you make your way, and the chanting is getting louder as you make your way back towards the large chamber. Sadness strikes you as you come across a couple corpses on the way. It looks like these things fought, but you're not sure what killed them. Like, they took damage, but it doesn't look like blade damage. It doesn't look like club damage. It almost looks like they were gnawed on by something. And you make your way back to the gem room, and you can see a handful of the faithful standing amongst a bunch of bodies that have been laid down in the seats like an amphitheater. They've been laid down on the cement. Virok, Tegun, and Rudan are the hobgoblins. The rest of them are goblins. And they are chanting, and behind the large stone gem, hanging off of it with hands that have too many fingers and tentacles that are wrapping around the edge of the gem, something that has a long, elongated head and a mouth that splits the elongated head, almost like a hammerhead shark if you put a mouth like in the center this way and turn sideways. And it's breathing heavily, and as it breathes, it almost sounds like there's a liquid burble, like it's gargling as it's breathing. And you can see the madness now. There's a light blue glowing tint in the eyes of Virok, Tegun, and Rudan, as well as the other goblins who are still chanting. It's a madness there. They don't seem to have noticed you. or the scouts behind you.
And I can tell that they're like, are they almost like trance-like?
Something's definitely up. They aren't home.
Hmm.
And the goblinoid they're speaking is
Mm-hmm.
is a chant essentially about bringing Frugek to the mortal realm, like making him a body, is what the chant is essentially saying.
Okay. I feel like I'm. I want to run up and get the three of theirs attention to just see what they did. It's either that or throw hands, and I don't because they haven't noticed me yet, huh?
No.
I'm just trance-like with my arms up like this, like
Mm-hmm.
Falgunare Krugeke, just like glowing eyes, just full on not noticing Tyler.
Yep.
Farouk.
Perfect. Yep. Perfect.
Mm. I think I'm gonna rush in and go after Rudon first. Because I don't want to go after my friend just yet.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna see if I can, yeah, sneak up, and I'm just gonna throw hands. I'm gonna punch him. Try and punch him.
Okay. As you rush up, ow, he doesn't seem to notice you. The creature does, and
Mm-hmm.
it lets out a screech, but doesn't move. And you see that the cultists around
Mhm.
kind of jump as if like scared for a moment, anxious for a moment, and then they start the chant back up. And by the time they start the chant back up, you're right next to Radon and you're throwing a punch. So go ahead and give me an attack roll. So next to your weapon,
Mm-hmm.
if you remember, you're gonna have like I think it's a +4.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what you're gonna
Attack
add.
bonus.
Yep. That's what
D20 plus 4.
D20 +4.
That was only an 11.
Well, it's a priest essentially that's standing still and not paying attention to you. So you hit.
Mm-hmm.
Go
All
ahead.
right.
Go ahead and roll damage.
1d4 plus 2. That'd be 5 damage.
Okay. Um. Okay. Did you want to swing a second time, or are you just trying to wait to shock him out of it?
Let me see if I can snap him out of it.
Okay. One second.
Mm-hmm.
Um. He shakes his head, and you can see that the kind of that glow in his eyes dims a little. It doesn't go away, but it dims. And he looks around and then looks up at you, and you can hear him cry out. Justin, if you could roll me a d20.
All right. 3.
Okay. And then I'm gonna roll another d20. Yeah, that's what I thought. It starts almost like dominoes. Um, put that back where it belongs. It starts like dominoes, and Rudon kind of wakes up, and then Viralt kind of wakes up, Tagoon kind of wakes up, the goblins kind of wake up, and they all start like freaking out because they're not sure what happens. And then
Mm-hmm.
in one of those crystal clear moments that everything is kind of hazy and then comes into focus, the screaming halts almost exactly the same time, and they all turn up to look at the gargling creature leaning over the gem behind them, and it, in its ferocious anger for them having not finished the ritual, dives over the gem in the back and seems to become mist and water as it flows over and through them into the ground, dissipating into the room. The cultists, now realizing and looking around and knowing what they've done, begin to cry out. Like they're just now waking up to what they remember doing. Varog,
Hmm.
you are in shock. You feel like you've been walking around and acting in a haze, but you remember everything that you've done. And your bones are on fire. I have no other way to put that other than there is a pain coming from the entire inside of your body. Like, and not an emotional pain. There is emotional pain, but this is a physical manifestation of something that's happening.
All right, I'll probably just cry out. It sounds agonizing, so I'm imagining I'm just gonna collapse to the ground unless I have the stamina to stay standing. I'm gonna try to, if that's possible, to try to like stay standing and power through it, but I don't know if that's possible.
Go ahead and give me a d20, and we're
Alright.
going to add 2 for Constitution to see if you're able to stay standing.
Okay. I want to reason what's going on, but this hurts. 5 plus 2, so 7.
Okay. You try your hardest to stand up and to stay standing, and as you kind of push yourself to standing, you lean one hand on the gem and push yourself up, and the fire has left, but so have your bones and your muscles and your skin, and you kind of and you're gone. Shortly after, Tegun, Rodan, the other goblins that had been chanting this strange eldritch chant, also. It's like the liquid. It's like everything inside their skin became liquid, and then all of it sucked into the gem together.
Ew.
That's messed up.
It's like Hellraiser.
I should have prefaced that, not like in a gross way.
Like in a fantastical way.
In a
Perfect.
perfectly pure blood getting sucked out of your body and pulled into a gem way.
It's
Like
just
a Harry
like
Potter universe guy.
Yeah, it's a Harry Potter version of what I just described.
You apparate away
yes.
cleanly.
Dude, I love it.
Okay.
Make it as gory as you can. It was awesome.
I thought this was like the Dark Crystal, but now I'm not so sure.
It's a dark crystal for sure, but
The extra dark
It's the second one,
Yeah,
darker
yeah.
crystal.
Dan's over here serving up fucking John Bluth Disney, traumatizing everybody.
Yes.
yep.
From there, all there is left is to clean up. And over time that passes, the people who hid, which were a medium-sized number of people from Rockface, they built so much into this town they didn't want to abandon it, and almost all of the elders and leadership types were sacrificed to the stone, which left you pretty much, Garuk, for everyone to lean on for decisions. In the end, it was decided that you would collapse the tunnel and make the best of the situation that you have. Move on, right? But often you found yourself thinking, how could this have been different? How could this have not happened? What did we all miss that could have prevented this? Um, and you're essentially left in a position you didn't ask for, which is making the decisions for everyone. Trying to figure out how everyone is going to live this life, how everyone's going to survive, how you can keep up the raids, how you can keep up the resources. At the same time, you notice that it's not that you're untrusted, but you note that there's a lot of people who, when they don't like your answers, they just do whatever they want, whether it's keeping the group safe or not. And it can get on your nerves.
Mhm. I feel like I would try to do my best to manage these things, even though in some cases the tribe or the people who don't necessarily like my answers will do their own thing. I feel like I would definitely still try to make the best of the situation and look out for them as much as I could.
Yeah. Most of the less violent, but pushed to violence were the ones that were left. And making the best of the situation you can, you lead a few small raids over the next year, making sure that people can survive. But it's not easy. It's not. And you always are questioning what was it, right? What started this? What caused this? It couldn't have been just the meteor, right? It couldn't have been just the meteorite. And it is a moment of weakness about 15 months later that has you in the dead of night while everyone else is asleep or off doing their own thing. You're opening the tunnel back up. And the room, now free of bodies and gore and anything else untoward, you see the gem glowing as it always has in the center of the room. Just a slight thrumming of energy.
I'm gonna step towards the crystal.
Okay? As you step closer, you feel that energy washing over you like you did the first day you saw it. You haven't felt that since that first day.
I'm gonna think back on when we did first meet or encounter the crystal and how we did get such a calling from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm gonna, even though I saw how things were when the incident happened, I'm gonna reach out for the crystal.
As you slowly begin reaching for this uncut aquamarine gem, moments before your fingertips touch its smooth surface, you feel wind rush over you. You hear waves in your ears. There's a warm breath of fire, like when that first bonfire is lit, that washes over your front as if a huge bonfire lit in front of you. And you feel the earth thrum beneath your feet, and you're no longer there. You are floating in, it's not a vacuum because you can breathe, you can flail around, but you're floating. It's almost like you're in room temperature water in a sensory deprivation tank,
Mm-hmm.
where there isn't really sound. When you speak, it doesn't echo. There isn't a wall for it to reverberate off of, so it just kind of feels dead. The words feel dead in the air around you. And you sit there in this empty void that has purplish magenta bands through it sometimes, aquamarine, yellows, whites sometimes, but not at any specific pace. And you're held there with only your memories to comfort you. You started counting breaths, counting blinks, but those numbers became so great that it wasn't, you lost count. Long ago, you lost count. And so you're left there to reflect on your life, on the life of bugbears, on the life of goblinoids, on the violence that is shuffled in and is such a large part of that way of life. The damage that that can do to not just people, but to yourselves, right? The needless violence, the needless anger, the needless aggression, and how that can damage one's being, and how it may have damaged you. You're not sure why you think this stuff. Maybe because you've been here for who knows how long. But it's when you start thinking and bringing that inner peace to you that you hear them, the voices. It's more than 4, less than 10, and they start with whispers that you can't quite make out in a language you don't really know, almost like you're tuning in a frequency. And then all of a sudden it becomes clear. And the voices, all at once, and mostly in the same cadence, sometimes there's a little before, sometimes there's a little after, they say, "Oh, that's new."
And I want to ask them, am I new? What do you mean?
It speaks. It knows how to speak. Hello,
Hi?
I, we, they. Sorry, it's been a while. None of us are as strong as we once were.
What are you?
We are the lost. We are those who have fallen from our perch that no longer have anyone that calls us master or believes. We are the ones from before. The ones that are no longer. We are the lost. It's a strange moment that you feel inside you. For one, they're confusing. And for two, they're all talking at once. Some of the voices sound like they can't wait to get the information out. Like they're on the edge of their seat, they're excited. Others seem forlorn. You can almost hear the sadness, as if speaking to you now is a temporary moment that will pass, and they will once again be lost. And yet one, a stronger one, a feminine voice but strong. I apologize. A feminine voice and strong, not but strong. Says, you've been here for a while. We've been watching you, but I wonder if we can't help you.
I think at this point help would be phenomenal. It would be very much needed. I've been here for who knows how long. How would you be able to help?
Well, there's only so much that we can offer, but perhaps there is something. And there's a montage of flashes of time that you spent in this other place. There's flashes of a world of fire and magma, animals made of glowing carapaces of obsidian, crawling in and out of lava pits and beams of fire. There's flashes of Karuk underwater, or in water, or as water, with creatures of indescribable bioluminescent beauty swimming about. Karuk floating in just air with winged creatures too massive to even comprehend floating below. Karuk being amongst stone for eons, just taking them in, watching them erode and grow, and sediment collecting, and then the stones forming once again. And at the end, he closes his eyes, and when he opens them again, he's standing at rock face. You're in the room that once had the gem, the large gem, but it no longer is in that room. Falgun is not in this. It's definitely the same room, but Falgun is missing. In its place is a small stone podium. But
I'll approach.
Go ahead.
I'll approach the podium, I suppose.
So it looks like a speech podium where somebody would stand behind it and give a sermon or give a speech. And you can see that behind the podium are a handful of small wooden chairs, medium wooden chairs, therefore people of varying sizes. But they're sat back behind the podium in kind of a half circle, and then the podium faces the rest of the amphitheater-like seating. Currently, sitting on the podium is a handful of stones, small, smooth stones, that are all like they resemble the large gem. They resemble Falgun, but they're small, about the size of a marble, and they're polished.
I'll pocket them.
Okay, just scoop them into a pocket.
And then I'm just gonna leave.
As you go to leave, you see that there are people in the hallways, hobgoblins, goblins, maybe even a bugbear or two, and they seem shocked. You don't recognize any of them, and it doesn't seem that they recognize you, but you're large enough that they don't ask questions as you move through.
I don't recognize any of them at all.
Nope.
No?
Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean,
Are
you might recognize the slope of a nose,
Mm-hmm.
or the eye colors of a goblin. Maybe how the hair lays one way or the other on a hobgoblin, where this might be a family trait, but you don't actually recognize any of them.
I think in that case, I'll continue my way out.
As you push through some of the people who are like starting to clump up and trying to figure out why there's a strange bugbear in their midst, you move past some tapestries which weren't there before. And as you look at these tapestries, you see that they're not like made on a golden loom, right? These are tapestries made by hand, by goblin make, and by hobgoblin make, and by hopefully not bugbear, because you guys have some giant hands. But they depict a story similar to what you lived. The story of how Rockfish was formed and why. And you can see through the lens of the tapestry storytelling medium, they did not get it right. And it would seem that the worship of Falgun has spread through Rockface, and a lot of its religious beliefs are around these small stones, about the size of a marble, that glow slightly. And as you make your way outside, give me a perception check.
Perception?
Yep.
Let's go +3. All right. 14?
You just barely see the shadow that steps out from the doorway as you pass out into the dark night. It has glowing aquamarine eyes that the energy from those eyes come off in wisps like fog, and it buries a dagger deep into your back. A dagger made of ice and shadow. And as your vision starts to close in around the edges and goes from full color to sepia to black and white, you hear a strangely familiar voice lean down and whisper into your ear, "There is no escape. It waits beyond." And your vision comes down to a black and white pinpoint. Then, for you, what seems like the time between two breaths, you are sitting, kind of haunched, like bent over with your legs crisscross applesauce. And sitting across from you is a small human child. He's blonde, blue eyes, and he's blonde, has one blue eye and one green eye. And he's wearing normal, what you would recognize as like farmer kid clothes. You've taken enough of them to know what they look like over time. And he seems at peace. You've never seen that from a human child. Usually they're pretty fearful of you because you're several times the size and weight of them and have nails, sharp nails.
Intimidating.
You're intimidating. He doesn't seem to bother. He's looking at you with a curious look on your face.
And you are?
That's not as important as who you are.
I'm gonna take the moment to like self-check because last I was in consciousness, I got stabbed by a thing right after experiencing a whole lot of like you said, the montage. So am I okay physically?
You feel okay physically. You don't feel like there's any illness or wound or anything that would be, full of harm for you.
Okay.
Your thinking is clear. You were kind of confused even when you were moving through Rockface, but you feel pretty clear and awake now.
Okay.
He says, it would seem that you've got a lot to think about in what you want for your future and where you were in your past.
I would say you're right.
That's
Absolutely.
That's a tough spot to be in.
I nod and just reflect on literally everything that just happened.
He sits up or stands up, like from that weird way that some people can stand up directly from having their legs crossed. I've never been able to do it, but he stands up like that and holds his hand out to you, and in his hand is a small braid. It's a leather braid. You recognize it because until recently, your best friend wore it his entire life.
Oh dang! I take it absolutely.
You see that hanging where it's a normal braided leather bracelet. There's a bauble hanging from it that wasn't there before, and the bauble is a small stone that I mentioned previously that glows a little. It's aquamarine and it slightly glows. But as you look at it and kind of look into it, you know what a cat's eye marble looks like? So instead of the cat's eye portion, there is a 9-pointed star. And so you've got a leather bracelet bauble, and it's in your hand. And it looks large enough that you'd be able to wear it. You know that were this actually Veralk's bracelet, it wouldn't fit you. His wrist was smaller than yours. He's a hobgoblin here. But this one has been sized up or some kind of freakiness because this one looks like it would actually fit you.
Well, in that case, I'll put it on.
You look up, and around you, you're on like Redstone Bluff. Space goes out in all directions. The bluff goes out in all directions. Deep crags and cracks go off. Slight brushes and Joshua trees dot the landscape. And you can see that while it's light, it's probably dusk or dawn based on the amount of light. Looking up, you see a purple and black night sky. And directly above you, you see the same constellation of a 9-pointed star. And the boy is nowhere to be found. And that's where we're going to end tonight.
Ooh.
So thank you guys very much. I know that it's not always super exciting, just listening for 4.5 hours. I really appreciate you being here. I love seeing all your faces. I'm stoked that we're doing this together as a group, and telling these stories as a group. We have 3 more to go, just 3. I'm looking at August being when we start up the big game, the Avengers movie, if you will, where it's all of us together.
Yeah.
I might have a session or 2 of basic house rules that will also be streamed and stuff, but so that we're all on the same page, so that I'm not hitting you guys with surprises. Because while I say things like healing works differently, right? You're not going to heal from every wound overnight. Bless you. There are aspects to that will make a difference. And yeah, so I am super stoked. I'm not sure who's going to be next week yet, but I do owe time with sitting down with Naomi, with Megan, and definitely with Justin, so we can get this stuff knocked out. Thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate you. I love you. Drink water and take care. And I'm not going to raid out to anyone because I don't have that ability. And I'm just going to say good night and peace. And eventually we'll have a closing credits movie, but we don't yet. And yeah, you guys take care and have a good night. Game on.
Thanks, you too.
Good
Have a good night, everyone.
night.
Blast.
That was awesome. It felt like it flew.